2 suspects have been detained, but not before leading investigators and deputies on a 2-hour-long pursuit Wednesday. And doctors say because it is very minimally invasive, they've been able to walk out of those doors the next morning. But I can say the SWAT team just arrived behind me here. There is a very heavy police presence. Police are just asking drivers to be extra cautious in areas just like this one behind me here where there are crosswalks. Here in Franklin County, winds have been coming in all morning. St. Andrews residents are trying to stay positive after street flooding, which was to my knees earlier. Terrible beach erosion from Hurricane Sally. It is up 3 feet here, and behind me it is at nearly 5 feet. This hits home for South Walton Fire District as they lost one of their own back in 2004. Robert Heighton encouraged residents to pick up trash just like this and throw it away when they do come to the parks. Pumpkin here is only 4 months old. Students have 2 sandwich options here, one being Nashville hot chicken, the other being turkey and Swiss on pretzel bread. We've discussed a little bit about grilling safety so far, but next we're going to be discussing fireworks. Although Warwick is excited to jump into seat 3 on the commission, Hines tells me he's not done yet.
Several witnesses alerted Lynn Haven police about the stabbing at King Griffin Park last night. As News 13's Alexia Tsiropoulos tells us, officials say the violence stemmed from a drug deal.
15-year-old Savian Craven is being held by juvenile justice officials, facing at least 1 charge of murder. Lynn Haven police say Craven was trying to sell drugs to 2 other teenagers when the customers tried to turn the tables.
It appears preliminary that their intent was to rob the dealer of an ounce of marijuana.
Ramey says Craven fought back.
The dealer, who is in custody, stabbed both of them. Stabbed one of them in the bathroom and then ultimately chased the second one down and stabbed him, which ultimately ended up being a fatal.
Chief Ramey says many were at the park on Sunday and saw the stabbing incident happen. One witness even tried to save the victim by pulling him onto this bench behind me here and applying pressure to his wounds. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough.
When my third officer arrives, that's when the suspect was trying to flee the scene. And he was able to deploy his K9 and get out, and they gave chase, and they ended up catching him in a neighborhood just like a block away from the park.
Officials say they caught Craven trying to hide under a vehicle. Craven was on probation after Bay County Sheriff's deputies charged him with possession of marijuana with the intent to distribute.
The suspect is right now charged with an open count of murder on the death of the victim that's deceased, and then aggravated battery on the victim that is currently still hospitalized.
Family social media accounts have identified the dead boy as 14-year-old Jacob Rivas. Ramey says the other teen is still in the hospital but in stable condition. In Lynn Haven, Alexia Tsiropoulos, News 13, Panhandle Strong.
A young woman was run over by a truck at the Grayton Beach access, where some vehicles are permitted. Tonight, News 13's Alexia Tsiropoulos has a closer look and explains why the driver was not charged.
He had reasonable suspicion to suspect maybe there's alcohol on board of the suspect.
A Florida Highway Patrol trooper was dispatched to Grayton Beach July 3rd for a crash on the beach involving injuries. A woman in her 20s was lying on the beach when a male driver, reportedly in a Ford F-150, ran over her backside with his right front tire.
We must do our crash investigation first prior to switching to any other criminal investigation.
Once the trooper concluded that crash investigation, he asked that 47-year-old driver suspect seen here in the FHP dashcam footage to perform a field sobriety test.
Start with horizontal gaze nystagmus, which is checking the eye movement. Move to the, I believe, walk and turn, which is just basically a series of steps heel to toe. And finally, I think he did the one-leg stand.
Lieutenant Jason King believes after the trooper's training and experience, his evaluation of the suspect.
The trooper determined that he may have had some alcohol in his system. It may be said like that on the video, but it wasn't enough to mark it in his mind, in his evaluation, that it was enough to score him out as intoxicated.
Once the trooper determined the suspect may not meet probable cause for a DUI arrest, He was issued a careless driving citation and able to leave the scene. It is unknown the condition that young woman is in currently. However, Facebook users are posting fundraisers to help support that young woman. In Walton County, I'm Alexia Tsiropoulos, News 13, Panhandle Strong.
In 2013, Building Homes for Heroes gifted a house to former Army Staff Sergeant and his wife, and they recently made some major improvements there.
Tonight, News 13's Alexia Tsiropoulos explains how this family will be utilizing the changes on social media.
It's a pretty wild journey.
Former Army cook turned bomb tech veteran Aaron Hale and his wife Michaela received their home as a gift, mortgage-free, from Building Homes for Heroes back in 2013 after suffering an impairing injury.
2011, I was injured by an IED while performing my job.
Aaron had lost his eyesight after the blast, and right around when he met his wife Michaela, he lost his hearing.
Completely deaf, completely blind, and had Michaela right by my side nursing me back to health. Of course, there's less elaborate ways to get a second date.
After the couple received their home, they started their family. Now, 10 years later, Building Homes for Heroes partnered with Lowe's to make major home improvements.
New countertops, as well as trim and backsplash, Cali flooring, waterproof vinyl. It's secured, good against children.
Those improvements made to the Hale family's kitchen has allowed them to start their own company called Extraordinary Delights.
I spend most of my time, of course, cooking for the home, cooking for the family, cooking for the business, cooking for our social media videos.
Cooking without looking, the Hales have already made great use of their kitchen for their TikTok cooking segments.
Welcome everybody to a very special episode as I'm joined by some friends from Lowe's Home Improvement who helped provide this new kitchen.
Aaron and Michaela say this was an extraordinary gift from the community. Building Homes for Heroes has another home giveaway coming up in the next few weeks. In South Walton, I'm Alexia Tsiropoulos, News 13, Panhandle Strong.
Last night, we kicked off a special report about a local man's life in the New York City Mafia. Jim Burton told us about his early involvement in crime and the types of things he was doing. In part 2 of her special report, Life in the Fast Lane, News 13's Alexia Tsiropoulos tells us how Burton's illegal schemes led to an unbelievable lifestyle.
Most people dream of living in mansions and driving expensive cars. For Jim Burton, that was his reality. But all of that ill-gotten wealth came with a price.
They were investigating me. I had a big, beautiful home and had a bunch of horses and had 27 Corvettes and a couple of Ferraris and Jaguars and all the hot cars.
Jim Burton was a med student, art gallery owner, estate manager, a limo driver, and a member of the mob. Jim Burton was also in the Mafia.
I used to break legs for them. I really got involved in karate in the 70s, and I trained real hard for years, and I trained for the 1980 Olympics.
But President Jimmy Carter decided the United States would boycott the 1980 Moscow Olympics. So Burton decided to offer his talents to the Gambino crime family as an enforcer for their loan sharking operations. He says he made $3,000 for each person that didn't pay up.
I tried talking them out of it many times, but I was making so much money. I would just go up to an individual and slam a sidekick on their kneecaps, and it only takes 7 pounds of pressure to break a kneecap.
Around this time, a stockbroker friend asked Burton to complete a foreign currency deal in Colombia.
So I went down there and I went to a Federal Reserve. I wasn't touching the money. I was having the money wired to my lawyer's account. I asked him, can I get in trouble for this? And there's no way that I could get in trouble.
Burton wasn't looking for trouble, but trouble found him anyway. That trouble came in the form of prison. Tomorrow night at 10, you'll hear how Jim Burton wound up behind bars and what his life is like now as we wrap up our special report, Life in the Fast Lane.